In the dazzling yet treacherous world of the bold and the beautiful, where alliances shift like sand in a storm and secrets simmer beneath polished smiles, one storyline has gripped viewers with its raw emotion and moral complexity. The saga of Luna Nozawa, a woman teetering on the edge of despair in a prison cell, pregnant with Will Spencer's child, has sparked heated debates and tugged at the heartstrings of fans worldwide. Did Will, a man torn between loyalty to his family and the pull of an unexpected bond, soften his heart and plead for Luna's freedom? Or did Luna's cunning manipulation, woven with the threads of her unborn child's safety, prove too intricate for even the sharpest minds to unravel? Let's dive into this dramatic tale, peeling back the layers of deception, desperation, and hope to uncover how this heart-wrenching story unfolded. The sterile, gray walls of Luna Nozawa's prison cell were a far cry from the opulent Forrester Creations boardrooms and sun-drenched Los Angeles mansions where she once maneuvered with calculated grace. Her world had collapsed under the weight of her own choice sessions that spiraled out of control, betrayals that cut too deep, and a past that refused to stay buried. Now, confined to a cold, unforgiving cell, Luna faced a reality she'd never imagined: the loss of her freedom, her reputation, and perhaps her future. But Luna was no ordinary prisoner. Beneath her fragile exterior burned a fierce determination, a mind as sharp as a blade, and a singular goal to escape the chains that bound her. In a shocking twist that left viewers gasping, Luna orchestrated a dangerous gambit from within the prison's confines. She approached her cellmate, a woman hardened by years behind bars, with a chilling request: "Turn my face into minced meat." The words were jarring, a stark declaration of her willingness to sacrifice her beauty, her very identity, for a chance at freedom. Yet, even in this moment of calculated self-destruction, Luna drew a sacred line. "Don't touch my belly," she warned, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and resolve. "Protect the baby at all costs." The baby. Luna's unborn child, the product of a fleeting yet complicated connection with Will Spencer, was both her greatest vulnerability and her most powerful weapon. It was a secret she guarded fiercely, a beacon of hope in the darkness of her predicament. But was this plea to spare her child a genuine act of maternal instinct, or a meticulously crafted ploy to manipulate those around her? As the plot thickened, it became clear that Luna was playing a high-stakes game, one where the prize was not just her freedom, but the chance to rewrite her story. Luna Nozawa was no stranger to manipulation. Her time in the glittering world of fashion and power had taught her how to read people, to find their weaknesses, and exploit them with surgical precision. In prison, stripped of her designer dresses and social clout, she turned to the one tool she had left: pity. The baby growing inside her was more than a child, it was a lifeline, a bargaining chip that could sway even the hardest hearts. Luna knew that if she could convince those on the outside that her life, and the life of her unborn child, was in danger, she might just secure her release. Her plan was as bold as it was ruthless. By orchestrating an attack on herself, Luna ensured that her injuries would paint a vivid picture of a woman in peril, a young mother-to-be, battered and broken, fighting for her life and the life of her innocent child. The bruises on her face, the blood on her hands, were not just wounds. They were a narrative, a story designed to pull at the heartstrings of anyone who heard it. And at the center of that story was Will Spencer, the father of her child, a man whose life had been appended by Luna's schemes, yet who remained inexplicably tied to her. Will, the son of the formidable Bill Spencer, was no stranger to the chaos that Luna brought into his life. Their relationship, if it could even be called that, was a tangled web of passion, betrayal, and unresolved emotions. When Luna's pregnancy came to light, it added a new layer of complexity to an already fraught dynamic. Will was torn in one hand. His loyalty to his family, particularly his father, demanded that he keep Luna at arm's length. On the other, the knowledge that she carried his child stirred something deep within him, a flicker of compassion that threatened to grow into something more. For Will, the news of Luna's imprisonment and her subsequent beating was a gut punch. He had tried to distance himself from her, to convince himself that her actions, her lies, her manipulation had severed any bond they might have shared. But the image of Luna, bruised and vulnerable, her belly swollen with his child, was impossible to shake. Each report from the prison painted a more harrowing picture. Luna, alone and terrified, clutching her stomach as she endured the brutality of her cellmate's fists. The thought of his child, innocent and defenseless, caught in the crossfire of Luna's schemes, gnawed at Will's conscience. Will's internal struggle was a storm of conflicting emotions. Part of him wanted to turn his back on Luna, to let her face the consequences of her actions. She had lied to him, used him, and brought chaos into his carefully ordered life. Yet another part of him, a softer, more vulnerable part, couldn't ignore the pull of fatherhood. The child was his, a piece of him that deserved protection, regardless of Luna's sins. And so, Will found himself standing at a crossroads, wrestling with a decision that could change the course of his life. Would he soften his heart and plead for Luna's release? Would he go to his father, Bill Spencer, the powerful media mogul with the influence to move mountains, and beg for mercy on Luna's behalf? The stakes were impossibly high. If Will chose to advocate for Luna, he risked alienating his family, particularly Bill, who had his own history with Luna's manipulations. Bill had once fallen into her trap, believing her life was in danger, only to discover the depth of her deception. Would he be willing to intervene again, knowing the cost of trusting Luna? Bill Spencer was a man who thrived on control. As the head of Spencer Publications, he wielded power with an iron fist, his decisions shaping the lives of those around him. But Luna Nozawa had a way of unraveling even the most steadfast resolves. Her earlier schemes had left Bill reeling, his trust shattered by her calculated lies. When news of Luna's imprisonment and her alleged attack reached him, Bill's first instinct was skepticism. He had been burned before, and the scars of Luna's betrayal ran deep. Yet, as a father, Bill couldn't ignore the pull of his son's anguish. Will's growing attachment to the idea of his unborn child was impossible to dismiss. Bill saw the torment in his son's eyes, the way Will's hands clenched when he spoke of Luna's suffering. It stirred something in Bill, a reluctant empathy, a flicker of the paternal instinct that had guided him through countless battles. If Luna was truly in danger, and if her child, Bill's grandchild, was at risk, could he stand by and do nothing? The decision weighed heavily on Bill's shoulders. To intervene would mean stepping back into Luna's web, risking his reputation and his family's stability. But to ignore Will's pleas would be to deny his son the chance to protect his child, a choice that could fracture their relationship forever. Bill's mind churned with possibilities, each one more fraught than the last. Could he trust Luna's story? Or was this another elaborate ruse designed to manipulate the Spencer family once again? As the days turned into weeks, the truth about Luna's plan began to surface, like cracks in a carefully constructed facade. Her injuries, though real, were carefully orchestrated, a performance designed to elicit sympathy and action. The cellmate, it turned out, had been promised favors, perhaps money, perhaps protection in exchange for delivering the blows that would sell Luna's story. The bruises on her face were a testament to her commitment, a physical manifestation of her willingness to sacrifice everything for freedom. But Luna's plan was not without flaws. The prison grapevine was a dangerous place, and whispers of her scheme began to spread. Guards overheard snippets of conversation, inmates traded secrets, and soon the truth reached the ears of those outside the prison walls. For Will, the revelation was a betrayal that cut deeper than any of Luna's previous lies. He had begun to believe in her, to hope that the woman carrying his child might have changed. The realization that she had used their unborn baby as a pawn shattered whatever trust remained. Bill, too, was furious. The memory of Luna's earlier deception burned fresh in his mind, and this new betrayal only solidified his resolve to keep her at a distance. Yet, even as he grappled with his anger, Bill couldn't fully extinguish the spark of concern for his grandchild. The child was innocent, a victim of Luna's machinations as much as anyone else. The question remained, could Bill find a way to protect the baby without falling into Luna's trap? The climax of this saga came in a series of heart-wrenching confrontations that laid bare the raw emotions of all involved. Will, torn between his love for his unborn child and his distrust of Luna, faced his father in a tense showdown. "She's carrying my child," Dad Will pleaded, his voice breaking with emotion. "I can't let her stay in there, not like this. What if something happens to the baby?" Bill's response was measured, his eyes searching his son's face for signs of the boy he had raised. "She's played us before, Will," he said, his voice low and steady. "How do we know this isn't another game?" The question hung in the air, a challenge to Will's faith in Luna and a reminder of the stakes at play. Meanwhile, Luna sat in her cell, her body bruised but her spirit unbroken. She knew the risks of her plan, the fragility of the trust she was trying to rebuild. Yet, she also knew that her child was her only hope, the one thing that might sway the Spencers to her side. As she cradled her belly, whispering promises to the life growing inside her, Luna allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. For all her cunning, she was still a woman facing an uncertain future, a mother who wanted to protect her child at all costs. In the end, the resolution of Luna's fate was as complex as the woman herself. Will's pleas, combined with Bill's reluctant intervention, led to a compromise. Luna was transferred to a safer facility, one where her pregnancy could be monitored and her safety ensured. But freedom remained elusive. The Spencers, wary of her manipulations, refused to fully trust her, and Luna's dream of walking free was deferred, at least for now. For Will, the journey was far from over. The knowledge that he would soon be a father changed him, forcing him to confront questions of responsibility, forgiveness, and love. His relationship with Luna, fraught with pain and betrayal, was a wound that would take time to heal. Yet, the promise of his child gave him hope, a reason to keep fighting for a better future. Bill, too, was changed by the ordeal. The man who prided himself on his unyielding strength found himself grappling with the limits of his control. His love for his son and his desire to protect his grandchild forced him to make choices he never anticipated, blurring the lines between right and wrong. And Luna. She remained an enigma, a woman whose heart was as complex as the schemes she wove. Was she a villain, a victim, or something in between? Only time would tell. As the story of Luna Nozawa and the Spencers continued to unfold, a saga of love, betrayal, and the unbreakable bonds of family. The tale of Luna, Will, and Bill in the Bold and the Beautiful is more than a soap opera plot. It's a reflection of the human condition, a mirror held up to our deepest desires and fears. It asks us to consider the lengths we would go to protect those we love, the sacrifices we would make, and the lines we would cross. Luna's story, with its twists and turns, reminds us that even in the darkest moments, there is hope, however fragile, and that the bonds of family, whether born of blood or choice, can endure even the greatest betrayals. As fans eagerly await the next chapter, one thing is certain: Luna Nozawa's journey is far from over, and the drama of the Bold and the Beautiful will continue to captivate, challenge, and inspire. What do you think, viewers? Did Will make the right choice in fighting for Luna's safety? Can Bill ever trust her again? And what does the future hold for this unborn child, caught in the crossfire of love and deception? We hope you enjoy it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Voice Fan DOOL for more updates on the Bold and the Beautiful.